Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Happy to find you here. Welcome to any new subscribers. Thrilled to have your company. Hope you stay here for a long time. You're definitely invited in and welcomed. I'm back to address some of the issues that come up with boss bullying and how I'm encouraging us to at least address it and not allow it to grow. Because if you ask most employers, they go, "We don't do that here," or "We would never allow that to happen here." And in my mind, I go, invite me and I'll take you right to it. You just don't know it. And it's there. It's in the nature of certain bosses with their, what I'd call positional power, out of balance positional power. So there's out of balance positional power and there's inexperienced positional power. So let's talk about that. An out of balance positional power is a person who is yielding their authority beyond the limits by which they have it, or to the extent that they have it, to the maximum, meaning they're enforcing everything and they're being forceful about everything. Now, it's good to have bosses who are passionate about their work and are driving the engine, whatever the engine, and whether it could be sales or manufacturing. It's good to have that. But it's when they begin to push beyond a normal request. And as a result of that, if they don't like you, start what I call passive aggressive ways in dealing with you, not inviting you in on a meeting or setting a meeting time and you're not there, and then harassing you per se, doing things that are pretty much edgy, not quite will get them in trouble, but just to the curb of that is what I'm saying. That is positional power that's out of balance. And while you can carve that back and get that person back in line, once they exhibit that, they typically become bully-ish, I'll say, because you are now pulling their reins back on them. Now, whoever you are to do that, meaning senior leadership or maybe even involvement of HR, complaints from others, well, whoever's involved with that, they will catch what I call catch attitude with you. And this is a behavior that is a passive aggressive trait. Then there's the inexperienced positional power, and that is a person who makes mistakes just based on their inexperience. And that to me is even more costly because this person doesn't even know any better. And unless you report it, they're probably asking you to do or insisting that you do something that is not even required of you or should be done. I'll say it that way. So having said that, what often happens is with the inexperienced person, they'll do something what I call just ridiculousness, like not schedule your hours. Like if you're working where you're not a consistent Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 40 hours straight, or on a 1040 or 980, whatever yours is, where it's all the time. You have flexible shifts. What they'll begin to do, the inexperienced one, is to not schedule you. And to me, that creates pay penalties. That is punitive. They have no rhyme or reason for it, but they'll make one up. Oh, well, the performance is different. Everybody else is performing differently. I need to be able to run my department. My department needs the best people on the team. They're not a part of the best people on, and all of that. When the reality is, they're mad at you about something that they probably didn't fix at the beginning of something. And now it's gotten out of control about that something. And they're mad at you because it's around you. All of this is just nonsense. And because the person doesn't know how to fix it, if you go to HR to fix it, they view that as telling on them. when what you're really seeking is resolution that you can't get from them. All of this has to be figured out. And it's very difficult. So I would say this to any supervisor. I don't care where you are in the lane of it, whether you are experienced, veteran, or inexperienced. And that is one of the last things you want to do, really, is impact the person's pay because you're feeling some kind of way, because you got an audit and their part wasn't up to par. So you give them less hours to work. No, what you should have done is you should have coached them to be up to par, direct them to be up to par, work with them to be up to par. And it could be as something as minute as, I don't know, let's say you have a policy where you're not to, I don't even know, it could be a very minute thing. I'll just put it that way, because I don't want to over talk any situations. But when you take a person off schedule, lessen the hours, meaning reduce down the hours they would typically get, and just give it to another person you prefer, that's pay inequity. That's pay inequity. And if that's happening at your company, and you should go to the head of payroll and report it, and CC the HR and report it, because that's a bias. It's an unfair bias. Let's say, for example, everyone on your team is required to work overtime. And although overtime needs to be controlled, and I agree, but everyone is working 10 to 15 to 20 hours of overtime, and you're working maybe a 4-hour shift or a 2 hours of overtime. That's pay inequity. That's punitive. That's differential. That's an attitude from a boss that's out of place. And so we should never tolerate that. I would suggest, and I'm feeling that, I'm almost a proponent right now in these last 3 videos of saying to anyone in these situations to say something about it, because otherwise we don't even know it exists. Meaning your personnel team. We don't even know it exists. We're doing other things. We don't just fix problems. We're doing other things. So we don't know it exists, and we don't want work for you to be unhappy. So you should report. And a lot of times people don't report because they don't want the backlash, but you're already getting the backlash because you're getting reduced out of hours, working hours by which you should. And you should report that. And if you have a problem reporting on the inside, report it on the outside. No, seriously. Because people have become too cantankerous, and we never know what's going on because no one ever said anything. Stand up against bullying. Speak up against the bully. Otherwise, they will continue to grow. And let me give an example. Speaking of the hours and cutting the hours and scheduling the hours when the hours are flexible hours and all of that. When there is a pattern of inequity, meaning inequity of hours across the board, some person may have 20 hours, you may have 4, and all of that. The employer typically says, these are flexible hours and no one's guaranteed. But how is it that same team of people keep coming back? And you go, well, there are good workers. No, they're your frequent workers. Anybody else on that list would have been your good worker too, had you worked them more hours. So this is all, everything is, let me put it to you this way, employers. It's the nonsense of getting away with bullying. These days are changing, and employees are no longer going to allow that. And you go, oh, are you promoting that they come after us? No, I'm promoting that you correct your ways. There's a systemic problem with boss bullying. It's the accountability, behavior, and conduct of the boss who knows how to propagandize the language and walk around the language and speak to you in such a way that they possibly can't do it, but really they are. Send me to any company and I could tell you exactly where it's at. I could point out the person. It's almost as if I am reading a soul. I've seen it so often. And it's very disturbing at this point for me, because at the end of the day, it's really uncalled for. You want to build a team, then build a better model by being a better leader. And good leaders would never do that. So if you're doing that, because I got a bad audit and that person wasn't up to par, I'm going to go get them. This is nonsense. You're an ineffective manager. You're an ineffective leader. And if you continue doing that, you shouldn't be over people. Seriously, you shouldn't be over people. You're having a tantrum by which you are punitively dealing with a person. And there's the dogs barking, so just ignore that. It's a mailman. So I would be careful with that nowadays, because if there's anything happening, we are seeing the truth behind the truth and the reason come forth now in such an undeniable way that a person will come and find it and present it to you. And you can deny a lie at all you want. But it had been before you. I'll put it this way. So recess. I'll put it this way. If you get to that point by which you are in front of a commissioner or a judge or external counsel, you didn't fix the insides, or you would never be there. 1,000%. You didn't work with fixing the inside, or you would never be there. You allow that person to drag you down there. You allow whoever you is that's over everything. You allow that one boss to have such an arsenal of complaints that you did nothing about in the inside. Now you find yourself in court. And what are you going to do? You're going to beg and plead with the silencer statement that the person can't talk about this. And there needs to be more. I would advocate on saying, and it sounds like I'm not employer proactive, but I am. Stop that behavior. It's almost to the point that if you were such a bad employer, you wouldn't be defending yourself so harshly and so frequently all the time behind this one person. Maybe you don't need to change all your policies so frequently as you try to do to avoid the next hit. Instead, you need to fix that person, including the exit, up to and including, the rest. Okay? If you've gotten this far, please click like and comment and subscribe, and I hope work for you as well. I'll see you next time. Bye. Play with me.